Hannah, I've always said I wanted a son to carry on the family name, didn't I? But you gave me a daughter. I don't need someone useless. Sign the divorce papers and leave with our daughter. One day, out of the blue, my husband Kyle said this at his parents' house. He held the divorce papers in his right hand and his mistress in his left. As I stood there, dumbfounded by his outrageous words, the mistress added fuel to the fire with a serious expression. Hello, I'm Sally. I'm pregnant with Kyle's baby. It's a boy, we've already had it confirmed. So, I'll be making Kyle happy. Please don't interfere, okay? It was as if I was being cast as the villain. Then Kyle's mother delivered the final blow. Hannah, you've deceived us all. Don't show your face here again. Poor Kyle. There wasn't a single reasonable person in the room. How could they be so heartless? I glanced at the entrance, feeling utterly exasperated, but I wasn't shocked or panicked at all. What are you all talking about? I've been single for a week now. I'm no longer Kyle's wife, so do as you please. Iris and I will leave. Hannah, have you lost your mind? When did we get divorced? The divorce is happening now. The one who's lost their mind is you, Dad. We've already moved into our new home. So, goodbye. What are you saying, Iris? You two are really idiots. Kyle laughed loudly, pointing at us. He could laugh now, but he didn't know that I was aware of everything. I would never forgive him for hurting our daughter. He would regret it for the rest of his life. Still laughing, I calmly began, "You're the idiot, Kyle. The divorce papers have already been submitted. You just didn't know. People say desperate folks do crazy things, and it's true. I never thought you'd spout such nonsense. But this shows your true colors. A liar without a shred of honesty. I'm relieved to be done with you." With a scornful look, Kyle stared me down, and his mother and Sally joined in. Honestly, why did I ever approve of this foolish marriage? I'd like to smack my past self. Wasting dear Kyle's time, the biggest mistake of my life. The only consolation is seeing you about to be discarded. Now, stop whining and leave. Kyle and his mother are too kind. Listening to such absurd lies. I'm glad I chose Kyle, he's so compassionate. Hannah, stop lying and let Kyle go. It's for your own good. With narrow, crescent-shaped eyes, Sally smiled like an evil witch from a fairy tale. People's hearts are revealed through their actions, and their smiles could disgust anyone. In a way, it's a talent. But where there's evil, there's justice. I was about to bring justice myself. I pulled up a video on my phone and showed it to the wicked trio. Do you know what this is? A video, or maybe camera footage? What about it? Isn't that Kyle's room? Why does this idiot have footage of Kyle's room? Did they truly not understand? Despite calling me an idiot repeatedly, they were the ones who didn't get it. That's why they engaged in such immoral acts like infidelity and easily accepted them. It made perfect sense. This is hidden camera footage. I was secretly monitoring Kyle. I installed a camera in his room. As a result, I knew he had a mistress and that he had a completed divorce form. What? A camera in my room? So, I stole the divorce papers while you were away and submitted them to the city office. If you don't believe me, check the hiding spot. The drawer in the closet is empty. Kyle, still in disbelief, went to his room. When he returned, his face was pale. He realized I was telling the truth. Kyle's mother and Sally stopped smiling when they saw his reaction. No way. She knew about us all along? Well, it's surprising, but isn't this convenient? We don't have to bother submitting the divorce papers. Sally, let's get married right away. Nothing's stopping us now. Exactly. It's not like anything bad happened. We just cut ties with the useless wife a bit earlier. She couldn't even give Kyle a son. She was never worthy of him. Now Kyle can start over. Kyle's mother laughed loudly. As a mother, I understand the love for one's child, but her affection for Kyle was excessive. I pulled out a small piece of paper from a drawer and handed it to the three of them. Kyle and his mother looked at it with puzzled expressions. True, Kyle took over his late father's business and earned more than most people. I knew how hard he worked because we were married. But no matter how great your child is, it doesn't justify mistreating their spouse. The harsh words Kyle's mother had thrown at me since our marriage were unforgettable. Those were truly painful days. My only ally was my daughter, and they were trying to cast her aside too. Unforgivable. I'm the only one who can protect my precious daughter. I will make them pay for everything. I took a small piece of paper from the drawer and handed it to the trio of villains. My husband and mother-in-law looked at it with puzzled expressions. What's this scrap of paper? A business card? Wilson Corporation, President Brown. Isn't Wilson Corporation a major client of Kyle's company? Yeah, why would Hannah have the president's business card? There's no way she'd meet someone from such a big company. They spoke as they pleased, treating me like a punching bag. But I'm a person with feelings, and sharp words hurt me. They didn't seem to understand that. Meanwhile, Sally was speechless. Noticing this, Kyle spoke up. Sally, what's wrong? You don't look well. Of course, she's surprised. If someone suddenly pulled out her father's business card, anyone would be shocked. What? Her father? Seeing Kyle's confusion made me smile. He really knew nothing. Now was my chance. Your mistress is the daughter of your client's president. That's ridiculous. Such a coincidence can't be real. You've lost it, Hannah. I always thought you were a brazen wife, but now you're showing your true colors as a deceitful person. How did your parents raise you to be so shameless? Kyle's mother's words, insulting my family, made me furious. She belittled others so easily. My daughter, Iris, was also fuming. Seeing her reaction eased my anger a bit. Encouraged by Kyle and his mother's words, Sally snapped back at me. Kyle and his mother are right. I don't know any big company president. Don't make up lies about my family, you scoundrel. Yeah, I've met President Brown, and you look nothing like him. But I'll admit, you have the grace and intelligence to be a president's daughter. You're worlds apart from Hannah. That's right. Sally must have had wonderful parents, unlike a certain useless wife. Iris's future looks bleak with a mother like Hannah, even if she has Kyle's blood. Kyle's mother cast a disdainful look at Iris. Not backing down, Iris glared back at her. Fueled by anger, I slammed a prepared document onto the table. What now? Brown. Brown Sally, adopted? That's President Brown's family register. It proves the identities of President Brown, his wife, and their unmarried children. As it shows, Sally is President Brown's adopted daughter. That's why she doesn't look like him. Why on earth do you have President Brown's family register? That's because President Brown and I are in collaboration. After I found out about your affair, I reached out to him. He kindly entrusted me with the family register. Kyle shouted in disbelief. There's no way I can believe that. He's the president of a major company. It's impossible for you to meet him. That register must be a forgery. You've finally resorted to forgery, haven't you? Do you really think we're so gullible as to fall for a fake? Don't lump us together with someone as foolish as you. You're the foolish ones. Forging official documents is a serious crime, punishable by years in prison. I wouldn't commit such a crime for someone like Kyle. If I got arrested, it would trouble Iris. Then why is this paper here? You must have prepared it to confuse us. Clearly, he wanted to deny any connection between President Brown and Sally. Admittedly, discovering your mistress is the daughter of a major client spells disaster. People tend to shut out inconvenient truths. But it doesn't matter, because the truth will catch up to them eventually. If you want to believe it's fake, go ahead. I'm just informing you of the facts. My firm attitude began to change Kyle and his mother's demeanor. The smiles vanished, replaced by beads of sweat on their foreheads. Kyle turned to Sally. "Sally, just to be sure, you weren't deceiving me, were you?" Sally shook her head vigorously. "Of course not. Why would I lie to someone I love? President Brown is a stranger. I had a child with you because I love you. There's no falsehood in my feelings." Her resolute declaration made me clap my hands loudly. "Wonderful, Sally. Your unwavering will is impressive. You loved Kyle that much. I'm touched. So, I have a reward for you. Just wait a moment." As I left the living room, I felt their suspicious gazes on my back. Unfazed, I stepped outside and soon returned with the reward. "Here it is, your reward." "What? No way!" Sally's eyes widened in shock. Standing before her was none other than President Brown himself. I had arranged for him to wait outside, leaving the door slightly ajar. When Kyle handed me the divorce papers, I checked the entrance, signaling President Brown. Kyle, though surprised, quickly straightened up. "President Brown. It's been a while." "Oh, relax. Formal greetings are meaningless." President Brown didn't return Kyle's greeting but instead cast a cold gaze at him. His brow was furrowed, and veins bulged on his forehead. "I've been waiting outside, and I've heard some very interesting conversations. Kyle, I've learned a lot about your true nature. It's been quite enlightening. I didn't know someone could speak such vile words. The world is indeed vast. Don't you agree?" Realizing President Brown had heard everything, Kyle couldn't think of any excuses. He just stood there, sweating profusely. President Brown turned his attention to Sally, causing her to flinch. "Aren't you ashamed of what you've done? It's inexcusable. Marriage is different from romance. Once you vow eternal love, you have a responsibility to uphold. Apologize to Hannah immediately." His voice boomed through the room. Both Kyle and Sally were utterly cowed, but Kyle's mother stood her ground. "If eternal love is important, then Kyle and Sally deeply love each other. Hannah doesn't love Kyle anymore. She filed for divorce herself. It's only natural for two people in love to be together. There's no problem." What a pathetic argument. Indeed, it's wonderful for people in love to be together, but only if they're both single. Besides, it's not just Hannah, Iris is also involved. Abandoning her because she can't bear a son. What era are you living in? Update your thinking. This is outrageous." President Brown's anger silenced Kyle's mother. The room fell into a heavy silence. His fury was understandable. In fact, President Brown's wife was infertile and they couldn't have children. Even now, there are people like my mother-in-law and husband with old-fashioned views, but we must remember that there are those who want to have children but can't. The act of pregnancy and childbirth itself is precious, and we must not forget that. President Brown couldn't tolerate how my husband and mother-in-law hurt the family for the selfish desire to have a male heir. Both my husband and mother-in-law fell silent under President Brown's forceful presence, but Sally's eyes burned with anger. She faced President Brown and began to argue. "You talk like you're some kind of saint, preaching to us. But you're just as selfish. You adopted me because you couldn't have children, right? Whether that was good or bad for me didn't matter. It was all about what you adults wanted, wasn't it?" Sally clenched her fists and shouted with all her might. I don't know all the details, but I've heard that President Brown, being a strict man, didn't spoil Sally with money or gifts. Because of that, Sally probably felt unloved as an adopted daughter. My husband and mother-in-law looked confused as the argument shifted from the divorce issue to a father-daughter quarrel. They exchanged uneasy glances. Unable to control her emotions, Sally continued to lash out at President Brown. "You only adopted me for Mom's sake, didn't you? Because she wanted a child, because she was important to you. I was just a means to satisfy someone else. To you, I'm just a tool. None of you care about me at all. I haven't known President Brown for long, but I can tell he's a good person. Even so, as an outsider, I can see that Sally's words are wrong. But President Brown just listened quietly to her outburst. Why don't you say something? Or do you think my words aren't even worth responding to? It's not that. It's just. I'm a little happy. What? Are you crazy? Or is this some kind of weird hobby of yours? I'm happy because it's the first time you've spoken honestly to me. You've always been an obedient child, and I thought you were just naturally quiet. But now I see that's not the case. You've been holding back a lot, haven't you? His narrowed eyes showed a hint of kindness. Sally's shoulders trembled slightly. It's true that I've been strict with you. I won't make excuses for that. But it's because I love you. They say the opposite of love is indifference. I wouldn't have said anything if I didn't care about you. Shut up, shut up, shut up. It's too late to say that now. I've never felt loved by my family. Come on, Sally, enough is enough. You don't understand anything. Even as an outsider, I can see that President Brown cares deeply about you. Yet you're just denying that. Right now, you're acting like a spoiled child throwing a tantrum. I couldn't help but interject. As a fellow parent, I couldn't listen any longer. Being a parent is incredibly challenging. You can't just quit halfway. Even if you give everything for your child, there's no guarantee of any reward. Often, what you do for their sake backfires. You raise them with love, only to let them go in the end. It's a tough job. But parents keep going because of their love and responsibility for their children. It's clear that President Brown has those in abundance. However, Sally seems too stubborn to see the truth now. Ha! Don't lecture me, you old woman who got dumped by her husband. You can only survive by clinging to a man. You'll lose everything to me and end up miserable. As Sally turned her anger towards me, my husband and mother-in-law, who had been quietly watching, regained their momentum. That's right. I don't know much about Sally's past, but I'm sure she'll be happy from now on. After all, she's marrying me. Exactly. Kyle is a wonderful man, too good for a woman like you. Now he'll finally be with a woman who deserves him. I'm looking forward to it. A child's happiness is a parent's happiness, after all. Though their words made sense, it sounded insincere coming from my mother-in-law. My daughter seemed to think the same, glaring coldly at her grandmother. I sighed at their lack of remorse and boldly declared to them. Fine, do as you like. Get remarried if that's what you want. But you'll regret it. That much is certain. My serious tone made my husband and mother-in-law gulp, but they eventually scoffed and took Sally's hand. What a pathetic last howl from a loser. Keep barking, you worthless woman. Don't contact us again. We'll be happy with our child, living our lives. Goodbye, Dad. We won't see each other again. Don't expect to see your grandchild either. With those final words, the trio of villains left the house. The silence that followed was like the calm after a storm. President Brown was the first to speak. Hannah, Iris, I'm truly sorry for my daughter's behavior. Oh no. Please. It's not your fault. And besides, it's okay. What do you mean by okay? President Brown looked puzzled, and I gave him a knowing smile. There are still facts you're unaware of. They will be revealed soon enough. Both President Brown and Iris looked at me, tilting their heads in confusion. A few days later, I was waiting for a call from my husband at a luxurious apartment complex in one of the most prestigious areas in the city. The view was spectacular, and I quite liked it. I wouldn't get bored even if the wait was long. As I was drinking my second cup of coffee, the long-awaited call finally came. I answered with an exceptionally bright voice, and my husband's panicked voice greeted me. What's wrong? calling me out of the blue like this? Just a few days ago, you cut ties so decisively. Help me, Hannah! Sally is missing. Oh, really? That's terrible. But shouldn't you report that to the police? Calling me won't help. I'm not in the business of finding people. No, Hannah, it's not just that she's missing. My bankbook and credit cards are gone too. She asked for my PIN before, saying it was for emergencies. Now money is being withdrawn rapidly, and I'm in a mess. I don't know what to do. My husband's increasingly incoherent rambling was so amusing that I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Even while I laughed, he continued to shout incomprehensible things, clearly in a state of panic. After laughing to my heart's content, I decided to finally reveal the truth to him. You know, Sally doesn't just have you. She has another man. What are you talking about? Stop confusing me more when I'm already so troubled. It's the truth. And the baby in Sally's belly isn't yours. That's a lie. It has to be a lie. You're just a horrible person, trying to mess with my head and laugh at my distress from afar. You're the worst. My husband was so enraged that he started crying. It seemed he was really at his wit's end after a few days of their so-called love escape. My mother-in-law must be worried too. Not that I care, I find it all quite satisfying. I'll show you proof that I'm telling the truth. Here's a question, where am I right now? How should I know? Go to hell for all I care. That's quite rude. But actually, it's not me who's going to hell, it's you. Anyway, here's the answer. I switched to a video call and showed him my surroundings. Instantly, I heard my husband scream from the phone. Sally! Why are you with Hannah? Were you two plotting against me all along? Sally remained silent, her head bowed. She had no choice, given I held a significant secret of hers. Kyle, it's not just Sally with me. Let me introduce you to her real man, Mike. At my introduction, Mike appeared on the screen. Yes, I had already made contact with Sally's real lover. Now, we were both at Sally's house. From the other side of the screen, I heard a louder scream than before. You bastard! How dare you seduce my Sally? You have my bankbook and credit cards, don't you? Return them with the money you withdrew. With all due respect, I knew nothing about this. I didn't know about you, the bankbook, or the credit cards. I need an explanation to understand this situation quickly. Sally. Mike cast a sharp gaze at Sally. She looked down even further. Sally, what's going on? Who is this guy? It's a lie that he's your real man, right? We were so in love. Tell me the truth. Shut up. What did you say? I can't hear you. I said shut up. You delusional idiot. What do you mean we were in love? I've never loved you even once. It was all your imagination. I was only with you for the money, and you couldn't even hide your affair from this woman. You're useless. Sally's desperate scream left my husband completely dumbfounded. He remained frozen for so long that I began to wonder if he was even breathing. Suddenly, he collapsed onto his desk and began to sob uncontrollably. Whoa! Whoa! He cried out like a wounded animal, completely unable to have a conversation. Meanwhile, Mike was grilling Sally, who responded aggressively. I felt an urge to go home and relax with Iris over some tea. But I couldn't just abandon my unfinished business. With nothing more to do with Mike and Sally, I quietly stepped out into the hallway. I had to patiently wait for my husband to recover. After crying his heart out, he finally lifted his tear-stained face. Just as I felt relieved that we could finally have a closing discussion, he made a shocking proposal. Let's start over, Hannah. We can still go back to how things were. Huh? What are you talking about? It must be tough for you to take care of Iris alone financially, right? And besides, families are better off together. Mom will understand too. How convenient of him to talk about family now. What should have been warm words now felt utterly despicable coming from him. I laughed at him with all the contempt I could muster. No way. Do you have any idea how much I've suffered because of you? And it's not just about me. What makes me the angriest is how you hurt Iris. I never imagined you'd neglect your own daughter after cheating on me. That was because I desperately wanted a son. There was no other reason. Besides, it's not too late. If we love each other, we can still have an heir. Don't say such disgusting things. I don't have even a shred of love left for you. I can't stand being in the same room with you, let alone touching you. And besides, we don't need an heir anymore, do we? What do you mean? Your misconduct is already known to your company and business partners. They're all aware of the issues, and soon your existing contracts will be cancelled. Once that happens, you'll struggle to keep the company afloat. If the company collapses, what good is an heir? No! He fell silent, utterly shocked. I delivered my final, biting remark. The only family you have left is your mother. Try to get along with her. I ended the call and left Sally's house. That was the last time I saw my husband. The clear blue sky seemed even more beautiful that day. After that, my husband was abandoned by both his company and his business partners. The company quickly faced financial difficulties and was soon shut down. As he ran out of money, his once close relationship with his mother deteriorated, and now they constantly argue. His reputation in the industry ruined, he had no hope of finding another job. His mother, never having worked a day in her life, couldn't suddenly start now, and she spends her days complaining at home. My husband survives by doing day labor, but his living standards are steadily declining. Both his appearance and his relationship with his mother are in shambles, and they are destined to live a miserable life. It's a fitting end for people who treated their child like a tool. As for Sally, she gave birth safely but ended up breaking up with Mike. Mike must have been a decent guy. Discovering that his girlfriend was cheating and had stolen from someone, it's only natural he didn't want to get involved in such a mess. Though it's not my business, I hope Mike finds happiness. Sally, left without any work experience, had no choice but to turn to her father, President Brown. However, President Brown, being strict with both himself and others, did not pamper Sally. Instead, he distanced himself. Of course, this doesn't mean he abandoned her. President Brown loved Sally and wanted her to acknowledge her mistakes, reflect, and live an honest life. I, too, had been helped by President Brown. I sincerely hope his intentions reach Sally. As for me, I now live peacefully with my daughter. We're not wealthy, but living without fear of family members is truly comfortable. I want to make up for the hardship Iris endured by giving her all my attention. A few years later, I remarried and was blessed with a baby boy. Looking at my little son reminds me that there are people who want to have children but can't, and that pregnancy and childbirth are precious. It's something I must never forget. From now on, I will cherish the miracle of my children's births and strive to be happy with my new family.